Hey Kipsters, Mr. Piazza here, and we are looking at the 7th grade math practice CST. This is for questions 1 through 5. I'm going to show you how I would solve each one, and this should help you for your error analysis. Looking at number 1, it says 3/4 times 3 equals something. I have a fraction times a whole number, so I know that that's really 3/4 times 3 over 1, which is the same thing as 3. And to multiply fractions, I multiply straight across. 3 times 3 is 9. 4 times 1 is 4. And my answer is 9/4, which is D. Moving on to number 2. It says which of the following is equivalent to 5/2. I know to turn a fraction into a decimal, I need to divide the numerator divided by the denominator. So that really means 5, the numerator goes inside the house, divided by 2, and I'll divide. For me to divide, 2 goes into 5 2 times. 2 times 2 is 4. I subtract. There's 1 left over, but I want a decimal, so I'm not going to use a remainder. I'm going to bring down a 0 after I add my decimal points. And 2 goes into 2 goes into 10 5 times. And so my answer is 2.5, 2 and 5/10, which is answer B. Should make sense because I know 5/2 of a pizza would be about 2.5 pizzas. And so my answer again is B. Moving on to number 3. Tasha is buying a CD that is regularly $12.99 and is on sale for 1/4 off. Which expression can she use to estimate the discount on the CD? So this is definitely asking for me to use my skills with discount, but it's also asking me to estimate. So first, I know that I want to figure out 1/4 off of $12.99. And looking at my options, it's pretty clear here that the problem rounded $12.99 to $13. So I really want to figure out 1/4 off of, if I estimate, $13. So what I need to figure out is which one is the same as 1/4 off. Is it 25 10,000ths, 4 100ths, 25 100ths, or 40 100ths? So here's where I need to use my fraction and decimal skills, because I know that 1/4 really is the same thing as 25%. And so this is really asking for 25% off of $13. You go to the store, a CD that costs about $13 is really 25% off. And for me to figure that out, 25% off of 13, I would find 25% of 13 and turn 25% into a decimal, 0.25, and I'd multiply times 13. 25 100ths times 13. Whatever that got me would help me estimate the discount on the CD. So my answer is C, because 25 100ths times 13 would be the expression that I would use to help me estimate the discount for this CD. Moving on to number 4. It says which of the following is an irrational number? The square root of 144, the square root of 16, the square root of 4, or the square root of 3? The first thing that I see is that the first 3 numbers are perfect squares. The square root of 144 really is a whole number. It's 12. The square root of 16 is 4. And the square root of 4 is 2. So the number that's different from the others is the square root of 3, because the square root of 3 is not a whole number. It's going to be a decimal. It's going to be 1 point something. And so just using my test taking strategies, I know that D is different than the others, that it's not a whole number. So my guess is that the answer is D. I also know that 12, a whole number, is a rational number. I know that 4, which is a whole number, is a rational number. And I know that 2, which is a whole number, is a rational number. So the only one that's left over, again, is D. It's going to be an irrational number, the square root of 3. So my guess is that 3, if I didn't know, is my irrational number. But just to prove it, I'll put in my calculator, although I already have my answer. And if I find the square root of 3, you can see I get 1.732050807568877, and that number would never stop. 1.7325 ... And so that number doesn't repeat, doesn't terminate. This is the irrational number, and the answer is D. Moving on to number 5. A sweater originally cost $37.50. Last week, Moesha bought it at 20% off. How much was deducted from the original price? So the first thing I need to figure out is, what is this problem asking? It's not asking how much it's going to cost. It's asking how much is it taking off from the original price. Deducted is another word for taking off. Or if you want to think about it, how much are you saving? So what I need to figure out is, what is 20% of $37.50? And whatever that is how much I'm going to save. So 20% of $37.50, I'll turn my percent to a decimal. That's really 20 hundredths times $37.50, and I need to multiply those together. So I will do that down here. $37.50 times 20 hundredths, and I multiply. 0 times 0 is 0, 0 times 5 is 0, 0 times 7 is 0, 0 times 3 is 0. Skip a spot. 2 times 0 is 0, 2 times 5 is 10, 2 times 7 is 14, plus 1 is 15, 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. I add those together and I have 7, 5, 0, 0, 0. And because I move my decimal 4 places in total in my factors, 2 and 2, I need to move it 1, 2, 3, 4 places in my product. And my answer is going to be 7.50, or $7.50. So since the problem is asking how much is deducted, I know that the answer is A. You would save $7.50.